Hey everybody, it's Brian. Today I'm going to be continuing my review of the book The Fighting Tomahawk by Dwight C. McClemore. Last time we talked about the general overview of the book and what my thoughts were on the content of the book. Today I'm going to be going through some actual techniques, and in addition I'm going to show y'all at least one drill that y'all can use to practice with the tomahawk. To start off with, I'm going to talk about grips. Now you have two basic grips that you use, and then three positions that you use for the grip. The first grip is the hammer grip, which looks like this. It is exactly what it sounds like. You're holding it like you would hold a hammer. The second is the extended grip, where you hold like this. Notice the difference in the wrist position and the fingers. Now, in addition to the two different grips, you also have three positions. You have your standard full position, you have your half choke, and you have your full choke. That's those three in the hammer grip, and the same three grips in the extended grip. Now, why do you have those two different grips? It really comes into play when you do your different strokes that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about the cut and the chop. Now, when you're cutting with the tomahawk, you're using the edge, primarily this top section of the edge, and you're drawing it through the target. So, if I was going to cut something, let's see. Let's say this is our target here. This is one of my 5 fingers. If you're cutting the target, you're going to take that edge and you're going to cut through it like this, versus a chop where the edge is actually going to impact directly into the target. So those two grips are used for those different attacks. For the hammer grip, you deliver a chop. The tomahawk stays almost within a 90-degree angle of the wrist, and you chop into the target. You impact directly in, and then you pull back out. So a chop from the front is going to look like that. You're going to chop in, and you're going to come back out. The extended grip changes the relation of the blade to your arm, so that when you swing, you're cutting with that leading edge of the blade. Now, if you have a larger bit on your tomahawk, if you have a wider cutting edge, it's going to cut more easily, especially if you have a lot of curve to it, similar to like a Viking axe or something like that. And a small bit like this is very, very good for chopping because you have smaller impact space. But you can use this for both techniques. So we have a chop, we have a cut, and those are the main purposes for those two different grips, the hammer grip and the extended grip. Now, what I'm going to go through here, the drill that I'm going to talk about is called the chop and cut flourishing drill. Now you'll see on the wall behind me, I have a wall chart, and Dwight C. McClemore talks a lot about wall charts in his books and uses them a lot for training. This is where you start before you start using a Pell or a partner to practice with. Now what you have here is you have the arrows indicating the different angles of attack for this drill. And you can really use this chart for all the different drills that are in the book. So, as viewed from behind me looking at the target, you have angle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you have angles 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all cuts performed with the extended grip. You've got 5 and 6 and 7 are all chops performed with the hammer grip. And then you finish up with 8, which is a vertical cut, again with the extended grip. Now before I go into the actual drill, let me talk a little bit about these angles of attack and what their targets would be. Your first two angles up here, 1 and 2, are primarily going to be targeted towards the neck, the face, and the shoulders. Those are your upper level attacks. Your 3 and your 4 down at the bottom are going to be either the outside of the hip or the inside of the thigh. So if you're swinging across this way, you're either going to be hitting the outside here or the inside here. Both of those really prime targets. It depends on how the person's standing. You know, if their legs forward like this, you can use that angled attack to attack the inside of the thigh here. You got your two chops, which are anywhere under the arms and down. You can chop into the outside of the arm as well, which is a very effective technique, depending on how the person's standing, but that's what you're targeting there. Your 7, your chop up, it's primarily into the groin or the lower stomach, and then of course your vertical cut down is to the face or the chest. So that is the targeting of these, which you've kind of shown. You can do this wall chart with just the arrows, but I included a basic human silhouette to help visualize where the attacks are going. Now, anytime you're practicing this drill, always start with the tomahawk in your belt. You want to practice that draw stroke every time you practice with the tomahawk, because you want it to become. You come here, you pull up, you plant the butt of the tomahawk against your hip, you ride the handle down, and then you're up, and you're ready to attack. Go through that again. Up, push, attack. Just like that. It's quick, it's simple, and it's pretty surefire. When I first started using a tomahawk, I would do this and I would kind of let it slide out of my hand. You have a lot more control when you use your body, and you can choose where you want to stop. You can come up and you can attack with this, which I'll talk about in a minute. Or you can come here if you're at closer range and you want more control. Or you can go all the way out here for your full range and full power. So, starting with the draw stroke, I'm going to go through the cut and chop flourishing drill very slowly so y'all can see it. So you draw, plant, cut, 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 chop, 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 and cut. Now you can use any stance you really want to with this. You can either have your feet completely even and be squared to the target. You can put your weak foot back. You can put your strong foot back. Any one of those will work with this drill. It's actually best to modify your footwork because you're never going to be static in a combat situation. Another thing that I like to do is all of the training in his book deals with using the tomahawk in your strong hand and a knife in your offhand. So I like to practice, when I do any of the drills, I like to practice the draw stroke on both of them. So when I do this, I'm not just pulling the tomahawk out, I'm pulling both of them out, and now I have both of them ready. I can step in and I can do my flourishing drill, but I still have the knife in my other hand. So I'm used to it being there. I'm used to the action of drawing both of them at the same time, and later when you start combining the drills, you're already used to having both of them out, and you don't have to add something else. So, that is the cut and chop flourishing drill. So, once again, from the top, we draw, we cut, 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 chop, 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 and cut. You can do that standing, you can practice that kneeling. You want to practice it in as many different positions as you can until you're really comfortable with it before you move on to working on a pel or a target that actually can take impact. So, that's that. Now, the flourishing drill for the knife is very, very similar, using all of the same basic angles, except the numbers are going to be reversed because you're using your other hand. So, as we're attacking with the reverse grip, this book, all of the training with the knife really deals with the reverse grip, because he's already covered the saber grip in his book, Fighting with the Bowie Knife. So, from here, from the draw, you're going to cut here, 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 and then come up, and then down. Now this is all cuts, this is not chops like you would with the tomahawk. Now it's tricky, you really have to angle your body and your wrists, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this because I'm not a professional on it, but you do have to be more conscious with a reverse grip with a knife, especially in the backhand motion, to actually get that blade out enough to where you're actually going to cut anything. Because if you just do this, you're not going to get anything. You actually have to twist your arm into that cut. Up and down. Alright. So that is the basic flourishing drills for the cuts and the chops with the tomahawk and the knife. I'm going to go ahead and talk about, I'm not going to go through the drills, but I am going to talk about the other attacks with the tomahawk. We've already talked about the cut and the chop. You also have the punch. From here, if you draw and you get it out, you can punch with the front of your tomahawk into your target. It's very quick. It's good to keep something at long range. You can punch in all of the different grip positions. You know, at close range you can punch like this. You're mostly going to use the extended grip when you're doing a punch, because if you punch with a hammer grip, you're automatically rotating out into the extended grip to get out there. In addition to that, you have what's known as the rake. The rake is pretty much always used in the full choke position, and I'll show you why. Whereas with the cut, you're pushing, or drawing rather, this part of the edge through, and with the chop, you're pushing the blade into your target this way. With the rake, you're actually using the tip of your blade like this here, and you're pushing it through the target like this. So if that's your target, you're pushing it in and you're digging in that part of the blade. I'll show you what that looks like from the front. You would use this in a very close situation where when you draw, you go straight in to a rake. So that's a rake up, a rake down, you know, side to side. That's all it is. So if somebody's really close to you, you can draw this, and just from contact range, you can have your hand on somebody and you can rake using the tip of that. So, got the cut, the chop, the punch, and the rake. Those are the main attacks that you're going to use with the tomahawk in this book. In addition, he also talks about using the butt end of the tomahawk. I like to use the backside of the tomahawk a lot, but he doesn't really talk about that in his book very much, because it is a basic training book. It's not everything that you ever will need to know about using a tomahawk. But, alright, well that is all I'm going to talk about today. I will go into a little bit more detail on some of the engagements in my last video, where we actually go through using the knife and the tomahawk together in one of the drills. And as I said before, I'm not going to show every drill and everything that is taught in the book, because I believe that since this is not my intellectual property, it is just a review of somebody else's. If you really, really want to know and you really want to learn everything that is in the book, you should buy it. So, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing y'all again on my next video.